Your Sphero rover will come with the robot itself, a battery, a case, a roll bar that can be removed, another case that's for mounting, color cards, and a charging cable. The first time you connect your Sphero rover, you will need to update the firmware. This can only be done using the app on an iPad or an iPhone or Google Android phone. To connect your Sphero rover robot, you will go to the lower right-hand corner of your MacBook Sphero Edu app and click on Connect Robot. You'll also be prompted if you're in the middle of a program to do the same. You will notice that you'll see the name of your robot. If you're only connecting one, you'll just see one. Otherwise, the name of the robot is also printed on the bottom of each rover. Click on that. As long as your device is powered on and nearby, it will connect to the program. You can see down here now that I am already connected. I want to go over the basics of the Sphero Edu app window. Along the top of the MacBook app, you'll see Home, Activities, Programs, and Drive. The Home button is where you can find the blog feed, 3D models. For instance, here's one of the rover. You can also find a link to getting started tips and getting started as a learner. The next button is the activities, and you have a link to all activities that you can filter by age group. You can also filter them by robot, by how many likes they have, whether they're featured. You can sort them by the date they were added, again by grade level, how long they are, what tags they may have, what standards they may meet. And these are the activities. You also have a link to the CS Foundations course if you happen to be enrolled. You have a space to save your activities and a workbook where you can work on your activities. The program button allows you to see all programs that have been made public in the Sphero Edu app. This again, you can filter in much the same way by robot. You also have the chance to filter by the type of programming, whether it's draw, block programming, or text, which could be either JavaScript or Python. You can filter by this other same items. You can go to your programs that you've created. Another useful thing that you can go to here is the JavaScript wiki. This comes in really handy when you're learning to program because you can sort out each of the different block options and read up on more about each specific block. I know as I was learning, I went back to these several times. I will link this blog at the end of the tutorial. I'm going to go back to our app. Oops, that's not what I meant to open. Go back to the app. I can also create a new program from this area. The next one is Drive, and that will be the next piece in this tutorial. The first thing you'll be asked is to choose a robot to connect to. And on the bottom of the robot, you'll see that there is a number. If you only have one robot that you are going to program, it will show up right here as soon as you've turned it on. Click on that. And it's connecting, and it brings up the drive window. This is your joystick. This is where you can change the colors of the lights. This slider here adjusts the speed, and I recommend that you start with a slower speed just until you get a feel for the robot. Also, the Sphero rover is made for wide open spaces, so a lot of your experimenting with your programs may have to be done in a gymnasium, a hallway, or outside. This little button here toggles back and forth between forward and backwards. This right here is very important. This is the aim, and this will help you move the aim of your robot. You can see right here, it doesn't step very long. You rotate using the arrow keys until the blue tail light faces you. Okay, so I can also, instead of sliding, I can use the arrow keys. Once I'm ready to drive, if I want to use the joystick, I simply push it and get started. And it'll go whichever way I decide to go. If I want to use the keyboard, for some of you that are more, and you're on the MacBook, and you want to use the keys because that's how you're used to playing games and things, you can use the W key for forward, the S key for backward, the A key to the left, and the D key to the right. I encourage you to start out by experimenting with the drive function. Movement blocks are used to make your robot move. You'll need at least one movement block in your program. The Sphero rover robots move with 3 basic instructions: heading, speed, and duration. I'm going to drag up the first block, and you'll notice it turns into a little hand on the Mac. And you see how it turns gray, and then it snaps into place. Roll, speed. The roll is the heading, speed, and then the duration. If I click on the roll or the heading, you can adjust what direction you want your robot to start in. I'm going to have him start by going straight ahead. When I click on the speed, I have that toggle button for forward or backward, and I can just click and select the speed. Once again, I'm going to select a slower speed because I'm inside and I don't want him to run into the furniture. Then I'll click on how long I want him to go. For this particular line of programming, I want him to go for 5 seconds. So he will run straight ahead at 62, which is a mid-range speed, for 5 seconds. And I would click start to run that program. If your robot wasn't already on, this is where you would turn him on. Click on the robot and then select the start button. And the program will run. Other options that you have are, this is another heading. So here he was going forward for 5 seconds. I may now want him to turn right. So I can select 90 degrees and my robot will go forward for 5 seconds. Then he'll turn right. And then I may drag up the spin. So I may want him to spin 360 degrees, which will be right around in a circle for a duration of, let's see, 5 seconds. We'll stay consistent. And then once again, I can press my start so that I can see how well that program works. Now, this is a really good, I'm glad I got a warning to come up. What has happened is my robot is on a rug that it will not run on real well, so it's protecting itself from its motors overheating by stalling. It's also letting me know you need to move your robot to a place where it can function better. And those are the movement blocks. This might be a good time to discuss where to find help when you're in the middle of a program. I've got a program started over here. I'm going to go over to the 3 dots, the vertical dots in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to go to Block Canvas Help. Here goes through the basics of how to build a program, the right-click options on the blocks that we discussed, the overflow options, where you can align all blocks vertically and reset the view so that it's just back to the start of the program. How to delete blocks, how to undo and redo, and different block activities that you and your students can take part in to learn step-by-step programming with blocks. We're going to switch to the lights blocks for programming next. And I'm going to start with the strobe block. The strobe block allows your rover to blink lights off and on. I'm going to select purple. And since I want it to go quickly, I'm going to select 0.5 seconds for the duration. And then I'm going to have it blink the lights 6 times. Then I'm going to drag up the fade button. And I'm going to set the first color as the same color that I had it strobing. So you'll get the effect of it fading from that color to a bright red. And then at the end of the program, I'm going to use the main LED light and program it to yellow. You have the option of also lighting the back LED, the front LED, the right and left LEDs, and the main LED. So you've got a lot of different LED lights that you can light in different colors on your rover. Right now, the blocks that are connected to the OnStart program block are these. And so this is the program that it will launch. These are going to be ignored. In fact, I'm going to drag them to the trash. Here you can see an example of a lights program running on the Sphero rover. The next block type that we're going to look at are the sound blocks. There are 2. There are a play block and a speak block. The sound blocks offer options of pre-recorded sounds and spoken text. The sounds themselves play from the programming device, so they'll play from your MacBook or your iPad or your iPhone. They do not play from the robot itself. So I'm going to drag up the play sound block. I can click on random, which it would just select a random noise. I can, let's see, how about an animal sound? And I'm going to select an elephant this morning. It reminds you to turn up the volume so that you'll hear it. Other sounds, I personally miss the sound of a classroom. So I can go to ambiance and select classroom. And then I choose whether it'll play the sound and then wait for another command. So it might be a movement command, a light command, or I can say just continue. So it'll play that classroom sound in the background of all the other project or all the other blocks of the program. And the other sound block I'll drag up here is the speak block. The speak block says, the speak block says in a robot voice whatever you want it to say. So you type in. So I'm going to say, hello, learners. So I'm going to press my start button and you will hear what I've programmed. Now, did you notice the classroom sound is really long? Therefore, I'm going to switch the order of the blocks by clicking and dragging and first have the program say hello learners and then play the classroom sound.
Hello learners.
I'm going to take a minute and show you some options with the blocks. If you right click, which is control click on the Mac, or press and hold on the iPad or the iPhone, you get other options with the blocks. You can duplicate the block, and even though you've duplicated it, you can change it to something else. You can copy it to take it to another program. You can delete the block. You can add a comment in case you want to remember something about that point in the program. Or, and this becomes very useful, you can click on block help and it will tell you some things about the blocks. For instance, when I was first learning, I was expecting the sound to come from the robot. But when I clicked block help, it says right at the beginning that it plays a sound from your programming device, not the robot. And then it tells you some keys for how to use the sound block. We've now arrived at the control blocks. I'm going to go back to Programs, My Programs, in order to demonstrate this particular block section. I'm going to click on RVR Tutorial Controls Loops. And then in order to view my program, I'm going to click on View Program. I'm going to take all of these out and get rid of the loop for right now. So let's bring this over. So here is a program that I have made for the Sphero Rover robot. First it says, we love programming. Then it does a roll, strobes, a roll, and says goodbye. I'm going to change robot. Oh, look, I can change the sound now. I'm going to have it use the storyteller mystery end. There we go. So now when I click,
we love programming.
And then it'll go down and play the mystery sound at the end. All right, but I want that to just continue. I want it to just loop and keep doing it. So I'm going to click on the top block and drag it down just a bit. Then I'm going to go to my controls blocks, and you'll notice down here I have loop, loop forever, loop until, delay for, if this is true, then do this. If this is true, then do this. Unless, and end program. I'm going to use the loop a number of times. So I'm going to bring the loop up and connect it. And you think, wow, that looks pretty small. But when you click and drag, the loop encompasses your entire program. Now, in order for it really to be a loop, it needs to go more than just 0 times. So we're going to click on it, and we're going to run that particular program for 3 times. Another option I could have used, I'll drag this down, is loop forever. So I just want it to go until I click the stop button. And there it will just loop forever. You notice down here on the loop forever command, there's not a notch. That means you cannot drag up anything to move to it because there's no notch, because it's looping forever. Another thing that I want to let you know is if you bring blocks and they're out here like this, they won't affect your program. The only thing we'll run is right here under on start program. So that's the controls blocks. For some of the more advanced features that are available with the Sphero Rover robot, I'm going to go back to the wiki. Some of the sensors available are an accelerometer, an orientation, which provides the tilt angle along a given axis measured by the gyroscope in degrees, and you can pull these up after you've run a program and get the data. The gyroscope, velocity, the location, so the X and Y axes, the total distance traveled in the program in centimeters, the speed, the heading, the main LED, the back LED, which is blue only, the time elapsed that the program has taken to run, and another thing that the Sphero RVR has are the color sensors, and the color sensor is located on the bottom of the robot. Your robot comes with color cards that you can put on the surface where you're going to run your robot, and then tell the robot what to do for each one of the colors. For instance, you might say when the robot goes across red, turn right. Or you might just have it change the colors of the lights to the colors that it runs over. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with the sensors on the Sphero Rover robot.
Rover's color sensor allows you to set a color in an event block and use that built-in conditional logic to perform an action when it sees that color. We like to use it to create a chameleon mode where the main LED matches the color sensor values. Or use colors to give turn commands to Rover.
This program will show how we can pull up sensory data by clicking on the 3 vertical dots and then gather data. You'll notice it shows on the location grid where the device traveled and in what pattern.